Do you empower your team to make decisions on your behalf? Or do you ask every one of your teammates to check it with you? Well, it depends. Depends what we're doing. We have an expression in surgery, it's called trust but verify. So when I ask for an implant, a 4 by 10 millimeter implant, I ask my assistant to get it. She looks at it. She shows it to my other clinical assistant, and I look at it. We always verify it because we don't want to make a mistake. If I'm walking into the operatory and I'm going to take out a lower right molar on this side, tooth number 30, I look at the chart. I turn to my assistant. I said, "What tooth we taking out?" And they're going to say 230. I go, 230? They go, yes, 230. I turn to the patient. If they're not sedated, I go, your lower right first molar, right? Patients sometimes look at me like I'm a little crazy. They go, you know what you're doing? I go, yes, I do know what I'm doing, but I always want to verify that we're doing the right thing. In that case, it's very important. However, in the realm of human relationships, it's a little bit different. We have 25 employees in our office. Our phone must ring 500 times a day. Between 25 employees, we're probably getting somewhere like 2,000 or 3,000 emails a day. That's a lot of information that's coming back and forth. Plus all the patients that we see, 100 patients a day because we have 3 hygienists and 2 doctors every day. There's a lot of interaction that's happening in our office. I can't manage all that interaction. So what I have to do is I have to trust my team. Stephen Covey Jr. in his book called The Speed of Trust, he talks about trust as being the most important lubricant in any organization to make them more effective and efficient. One of the things that I always look at in any decision that I make, or in any interaction, is it increasing the stress or is it decreasing the stress? And the second thing I look at is it making us more effective or less effective? I guess the best combination is low stress, high effectiveness. And that's sort of like the flow state. You know, when you're playing sports, let's say the inner game of tennis, you're playing sports and everything's going smoothly. Or like, you know, you're in the NBA finals and all of a sudden you're shooting 3 or 4 3-pointers in a row, in a row, in a row. That doesn't happen to many people every day. But when they're doing it, a professional athlete's doing that and they're the best in the business, they call that the flow state. And that's where we're at in our office, when everything's going smoothly, when I'm doing an implant and I'm joking and everyone's laughing around because everything's going perfectly, the bone is there, etc. That's the flow state. That's where I want to be. The place I hate to be is where my stress level is really high and my effectiveness is very low. And I don't want to cause that for any of my team members, because if they can work in their flow state, doing the right thing because they know what the right thing is, then they become very powerful. Let me give you an example. Patient comes in late for an appointment. Let's say 15 minutes late. The hygienist is running behind. What do you do with that patient? Well, my teammate will make the right decision. She may say, well, you know, we're not going to be able to time you give and service that you need, or we'll only be able to give you 30 minutes, and we won't charge you for the full visit today because we're going to want you back again. Even though the patient's late and the patient may be wrong, that person, my teammate, will be able to smooth it for them. They're empowered to be able to do that. The last thing I want them to do is to follow the rules and say, hey, listen, you're late, go home. Now we wasted an hour. We're stuck in traffic. They come in a bad mood, as a lot of patients do, because there's traffic out there. Things get in the way. You know, not everybody can work on a perfect schedule all the time. In a dental practice where we have a total of, 75 appointments a day in our practice, the fact that everybody shows up on time and leaves on time, that's never happens. So we got to be somewhat flexible. So I empower my employees to be flexible and to do the right thing for my patients. That requires me to trust them. It requires me to be able to have some empathy for the patients that they serve and empathy for the staff for what they're going through. So it's very important to empower the team in my practice and to trust them if we're going to be successful in having a day where the stress level is low and our effectiveness is high. Now, in a dental practice, we're dealing with a lot of emergencies. So oftentimes our effectiveness may be high, but our stress may also be high. And that sometimes happens. It does occur in all practices where we're under some sort of stress. I don't like it, but it's part of the job. And when we're in that state where stress is high and we want to keep our effectiveness high, we want to make sure that all of our teammates around us can support us, because there'll be a teammate there that can take some of that stress away from us. So to have a very strong team, I need to empower them to be able to do their job. But first, I have to show them what their responsibilities are and to educate them, so we don't throw somebody right in that. Matter of fact, in our practice, I say it takes about 3 or 4 months just to sort of get comfortable. And I always tell every new employee, I don't care if they're the best employee in the world, but they came from somebody else's practice. They've never worked in our practice before. They've never seen our protocols. It's all new. It's all new teammates. You know, it's like If I had LeBron James all of a sudden join the New York Knicks, they're not going to necessarily win a championship because he joined them. There's a whole protocol and a series of events. Very hard for that to happen. In our practice, it's the same way. I can hire LeBron James and they can work in there. It's going to take about a year for them to get that minimal level of effectiveness where things are flowing. So I take all the stress away from new employees. I say, hey, it's going to take a year to get minimally effective. It's going to take 5 years to become very good. And it's going to take 10 years to become great. Now, I have a partner, Dr. Ma, and he's been with me for 12 years. If you see Dr. Ma today, you're going to look at him and go, he is unbelievable. Because I have a young associate that's been with me 6 months, and she's looking at Dr. Ma and she's saying, okay, I understand you, Dr. Sonic, you've been doing this 40 years, but Dr. Ma, he's only been here 10, 11 years. He's almost my age, and how effective he is. I go, yes, but he's been here 11 years. You know, when someone first comes in, they're not at a level that they're going to be at 10, 11 years. And they're not going to be at the level of 10, 11 years unless they work very hard. And that requires us as teammates, as leaders, as mentors, as, collaborators to make the people around us as great as possible. And that's our responsibility. So if you don't empower your staff to be able to do all the things that they need to do to become effective, you're undermining your own authority and your own effectiveness in your practice. So it's important to be able to trust it. Now, some people say, I don't like my staff. Well, that's a problem. If you don't like your staff, what am I going to tell you? That's your fault. You need to do what you need to do to get them to that level. And how do you do that? Hire the right people and train them. Nobody becomes great in a vacuum. And I could hire the greatest people in the world, and I can turn them into the worst employee if I don't treat them right. So be able to empower your staff, I have to also rehire them every day, tell them how great they are, maybe correct them slightly, but also compliment them in front of other people to make sure they know how great they are. And I'm very fortunate. I have 25 people in our practice, and I love every one of them. And I do truly mean that today. It wasn't like that 30 years ago because I didn't hire the right people and I knew the right training, and I wasn't mature enough to be able to bring them up. It takes some time to get to that level. And if you aren't at that level yet, find some people to help you because there are some great mentors out there. Be the gift, everybody, and have a great day.